Welcome to Have You Read It, the channel where we bring books to life, one summary at a time. Today, we're diving into Anna Reid's A Nasty Little War, The Intervention in Russia, 1918 to 1920. This book tackles a fascinating and often overlooked period of history, exploring the Allied intervention in Russia following the Bolshevik Revolution. It's a complex story involving multiple factions, shifting alliances, and a healthy dose of imperial hubris. So buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. Reid begins by setting the stage. Pre-revolutionary Russia, a vast and unwieldy empire grappling with its identity on the world stage. There's the story of the Russian ambassador in Washington mirroring the American Secretary of State's casual posture, a subtle yet telling anecdote of Russia's attempts to fit in with the West while maintaining its unique character. World War I further complicates matters. Russia's initial promise as a military powerhouse quickly fades, leading to internal dissent and the February Revolution. The Allies, initially enthusiastic about Russia's nascent democracy, are blind to the fragility of the provisional government, failing even to offer asylum to the Tsar's family, a decision motivated more by political expediency than humanitarian concern. The Bolsheviks seize power in November 1917, throwing the Allies into further disarray. Their radical ideology and the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, a peace agreement with Germany that ceded vast territories, are met with disbelief and outrage. This is where the seeds of intervention are sown, driven by the fear of German expansion and the desire to safeguard Allied supplies. The early stages of the intervention are a mix of tentative naval deployments to Murmansk and Vladivostok and diplomatic maneuvering. The British send Bruce Lockhart to Moscow with the mission of understanding the Bolshevik regime and potentially influencing events. He, along with French Representative Jacques Sadoul and American Raymond Robbins, becomes somewhat enamored with the revolutionary leaders, leading to miscalculations and mixed signals. Meanwhile, the Czechoslovak Legion, a force of Czech soldiers hoping to reach the Western Front, becomes embroiled in the Russian Civil War after a minor incident at a Siberian railway station escalates into open conflict with the Bolsheviks. Their surprising success in controlling the Trans-Siberian Railway provides a convenient pretext for American intervention, framed as a rescue mission for a small nation caught in the crossfire. This narrative, fueled by Tomasz Masaryk's masterful publicity campaign, helps sway American public opinion and President Wilson's reluctant decision to send troops. The intervention proper begins with the British landing at Archangel under General Poole. However, Poole's actions, including his connivance in a coup against the Northern government, reveal the Allies' true intentions: not to support Russian self-determination, but to install regimes sympathetic to their interests. The book highlights the chaotic nature of the Russian Civil War, with multiple factions vying for power and alliances constantly shifting. The interventionists' ignorance of local realities and their cultural biases contribute to their failures. The British officer, steeped in imperial traditions, often finds himself bewildered by the formlessness of Russia, comparing its vastness to a feather bed that refuses to stand on end. In the north, the Americans of the 339th Infantry arrive, ill-prepared for the harsh conditions and the complexities of the conflict. Their experiences, documented in letters and diaries, paint a vivid picture of trench warfare in frozen forests, the constant threat of frostbite, and the creeping disillusionment with the intervention's aims. The British expedition to Baku, led by the Kipling-esque Dunsterville, further underscores the intervention's follies. Tasked with securing the city's oil fields from the Turks, Dunsterville and his men become embroiled in the city's complex ethnic rivalries and face a demoralized and disorganized local army. The mission ultimately ends in a chaotic evacuation, leaving behind a trail of bloodshed and recriminations. The armistice changes the calculus of the intervention. With Germany defeated, the original rationale for intervention evaporates. Yet the Allies, driven by anti-Bolshevik sentiment and concerns about national prestige, continue to support the White forces. Kolchak's coup in Omsk, backed by the British General Knox, demonstrates the Allies' preference for strongman rule over democratic processes. Knox, with his clear-cut division of the world into good fellows and rotters, embodies the interventionists' simplistic worldview. The British mission to Siberia, led by Knox, becomes a tragicomedy of misplaced priorities, with lavish social events and symbolic gestures overshadowing the grim realities of the war. The Allied presence in the south, initially focused on Odessa, further highlights the contradictions of the intervention. The French, with a force of Senegalese and Greek troops, struggle to maintain control, while the British offer only limited support to Denikin's volunteer army. The French evacuation of Odessa, marked by chaos and recriminations, foreshadows the intervention's ultimate failure. The 1919 campaigning season sees the White forces, bolstered by Allied aid, make significant advances, raising hopes of victory. However, these gains are short-lived, as the Red Army, under Trotsky's leadership, mounts a series of successful counter-offensives. The most egregious aspect of the intervention is the British complicity in the White forces' anti-Semitic atrocities. The book meticulously documents the pogroms in Ukraine, highlighting the brutality of the violence and the cynical way in which the Whites used anti-Jewish propaganda to scapegoat a minority population and galvanize support for their cause. The British, despite their official pronouncements against such atrocities, turn a blind eye, choosing political expediency over moral imperative. The Allies' Baltic campaign, while achieving the limited success of securing independence for Latvia and Estonia, is marred by German intransigence and White Russian infighting. Admiral Cowan's daring raid on Kronstadt, a feat of naval ingenuity, provides a brief moment of glory, but ultimately fails to turn the tide of the war. The final stages of the intervention are marked by retreat and recrimination. Kolchak's execution, the chaotic evacuation of Novorossiysk, and the abandonment of Archangel underscore the futility of the Allied efforts. The intervention's legacy is one of failure, contributing to the rise of extremism in Europe and fostering long-term distrust between Russia and the West. The book concludes with a poignant reflection on the human cost of the intervention. The stories of those left behind, the refugees, the displaced, and those who collaborated with the Allies, serve as a stark reminder of the unintended consequences of foreign intervention. The main takeaway from A Nasty Little War is a cautionary tale about the perils of foreign intervention, particularly when driven by ideological fervor and a lack of understanding of local realities. The book highlights the dangers of ignoring local context. The British officers, steeped in imperial thinking, consistently underestimated the complexity of Russian society and overestimated their ability to shape events. It highlights the dangers of supporting authoritarian regimes for short-term gain. The Allies' backing of figures like Kolchak and Denikin, despite their authoritarian tendencies and human rights abuses, ultimately backfired, undermining any pretense of supporting democracy and self-determination. It also highlights the dangers of prioritizing military solutions over political ones. The interventionists' focus on military force, rather than addressing the underlying political and social issues fueling the conflict, only prolonged the violence and exacerbated the suffering of the Russian people. Finally, it shows the dangers of overestimating one's ability to control events. The interventionists' grand plans for reshaping Russia consistently collided with the chaotic realities on the ground, leading to a series of humiliating retreats and reversals. Thanks for watching. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our next book dive.